Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
This podcast is proudly supported by Cooper's Ale House Jeps Cross and the ALH Group, Matt Hall from DR Kart South Australia, HandyPay, SA's leading personal lender, Patrizzi Course, and Tindo Solar, Australia's only solar panel manufacturer.
Now on Radio Italia Uno, it's time for Negative Camber, the official motorsport show of Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide.
This is the opportunity that Senna's looking for, and he's going through. Ouch! Oh my goodness, this is fantastic!
With Jamie and Lee, from karting to Formula One, we have news, interviews, and the lowdown on all the latest events in the motorsport world.
Get my gloves and steering wheel. Gloves! Mark, gloves! Steering wheel, gloves and steering wheel, yeah. Come on! Move!
Right now on Radio Italia Uno, 87.6 FM. And good evening, everyone, to Negative Camber. We are back in the studio. I'm your host, Jamie Lemura, and with me is my lusciously locked, very well tanned co-host and good buddy, Lee Harrison. How are you, mate?
Great, mate. Like I said off air, it's been quite a whirlwind day today. I literally had time to walk inside, shower, smash some food, and get to the studio. Tanned is probably an understatement. I think I'm tomato red burnt, to be honest. But hey, that's what happens when you put not effective sunscreen on.
Your face matches your jumper colour, mate. That's quite amusing.
I just wanted to match in with your jumper as well.
Actually, I can't talk either, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
I'm wearing the red today. We're back in the studio. It's it was our first show was reasonably successful. A big shout out to, I guess, the station initially for allowing us the opportunity to do our thing on here. Big hello to Mark Aston and also Dino Mussolino, who's the president of Radio Italia Uno, and Mark, who's obviously the general manager. But I also wanted to give a big thank you and a special shout out to Ron Fielder, who did the production for our first show. And also sat down with us during the week to do the new introduction, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah, I know. So cool. I know. So Ron obviously works here at the station and also runs his own business, which is Podcast City. Yep. So thank you very much, guys. It's good to be back. But the last time we were here in the studio, the world turned upside down. We had a lockdown. Then we had the craziest British Grand Prix that I can remember for quite a long time.
Which we predicted, mind you.
Yes, we did. Yep. We did. How was lockdown for you?
Yeah, look, it was quite busy, obviously. We have, you and I are in the same boat. We've both got a couple of young kids at school, and that turned into, obviously, homeschooling and trying to manage our own workloads at our 9-to-5s as well.
Yeah.
So very busy. Took some of the load off my beautiful wife there. Did the homeschooling for her, except for one day I had to jump into the office and do some stuff as well. So she held on to the fort for that day. But yeah, look, we don't really spend a lot of time out and about the place, so having to spend a weekend inside didn't really hamper us too much. Just, put the kids in front of the telly and put some cool and exciting things on. I suppose the best part of it was, we had the Olympics on, so there was plenty of stuff on the TV to keep us occupied. How was lockdown for you guys?
Look, fair to say it had its moments. I mean, my wife's obviously a teacher at Mount Carmel College, so as most are aware, and my daughter was being homeschooled as well, and then I've got a 3-year-old son too. So there were times when I had to play daddy daycare and also sort of co-ed Charlotte, my daughter, and Bianca was obviously working and running lessons at the same time. So it definitely had its moments, but it was no different to yourself, to be honest with you. But the Olympics, Olympic fever hit me really hard.
Yeah,
really
likewise,
hard. Yeah. I had so much so I actually ripped out the old sprint training for the velodrome, my old training plans, and started to do some work on the exercise bike again, doing sprint intervals. So that kept me busy.
Yep.
Keeping the fat off the rig.
Making wait for Festival State Cup.
It's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
The last week hasn't helped with El Presidente here turning the big 4-0.
Nice one.
Yeah, so got to celebrate that at Cafe Settobello down at Newton. So anyone wants a good function down there, go and see Rami and the team. They do a good spread, and I just had I had a big shindig planned, but it didn't go ahead because obviously of all the restrictions and stuff like that. So it was just immediate family that we had there, and the highlight was the birthday cake.
Yes, I did see that. It was
a
nice emoji, brown emoji with a face on it.
Yeah, I don't know how. By the way, guys, a big shout out to our producer tonight, David Heath, the legend. So if you hear us refer to David in certain parts of the night, he's probably either saving us or he's going to be doing some special things. We're going to step the show up a couple of notches now. So in regards to content and bits and pieces, so we've got the genius behind the madness in all of this. But a certain brown, I suppose, let's just say soft serve looking object was my birthday cake, and something a little bit different, probably symbolic of the times, but it was. I just wanted to do something different, something that if I can't remember the people that I spent my 40th with, then I can remember the cake.
Yep.
And it definitely it tasted good.
Well, that's good that it didn't taste as bad as it looked.
Look, there was no bits and pieces in it. Put it that way. It was just chocolate vanilla marble and chocolate fudge in between all that, so somewhat appropriate. But
nice.
Yeah, I'd be lucky if there was spinach and bits and pieces in there too. But we're going to keep it G-rated. But what about you, mate? You've been doing some Sim League stuff. How's that all been going?
Yeah, look, flat out Monday nights and Tuesday nights we're live on the sim with the two leagues that I run. So, I feel like I've got a second full-time job in the background with all the admin processes behind keeping points tallies up to date and, handing out penalties and that sort of stuff. But it's good, and we've got some good partners on board, and we broadcast live over Facebook, YouTube, all that jazz as well. So, the motorsport doesn't stop for me. And so if anyone's listening and anyone wants to tune in for extra motorsport, it's virtual, but it is pretty crazy. We got featured on the main page of the iRacing Facebook the other day with our racing. We had an 8-car battle for the lead and the win in one of our races that went on for about 15 laps.
Yep.
That was really cool to be featured with them. But yeah, kicking goals, mate, and just keeping myself busy on the sidelines. We put a ban on the TV with the Olympics being on, so it was Olympics only. If they the kids wanted to put the TV on, Olympics only, no cartoons or anything like that. So we're watching plenty of diving and gymnastics. The girls really got around that. What was your kids' favourite sport of the Olympics?
I was with you with that. I think Charlotte in particular is at that age where now's the time that she can start to be inspired by that sort of stuff. Now, no one puts pressure on the kids to be Olympians, but that's when you start to understand what it is. And I mean, as you know, I love the Olympics. I collect all sorts of paraphernalia. And in actual fact, Bianca gave me the official program from Japan, which you can only get in Japan, of Tokyo 2020 as part of my birthday present. So, which I cherish that. But swimming, gymnastics, because Charlotte does those. The men's Olympic road race and the women's for the cycling, but then the track bikes as well. There was the basketball because we go to the 36ers and bits and pieces. So there was all sorts of stuff there. But it was it was good. They got a lot out of it, and so did we. And they get to see the next generation in front of them unfold before their eyes. So
exactly.
Outside of at that, I'm obviously outside of radio host. I'm president of the Scuderia Ferrari Club, which is now Australia's only official Ferrari supporters club in the country. So, and we do club stuff, and this is part of it, I guess. But we've got some events coming up in terms of the hire kart series. So for listeners out there that don't know who we are yet, well, they sort of do if they've just listened to the first show. We run a hire kart series. So members and non-members are invited and allowed to attend and races in a sort of a Grand Prix or an endurance-based format across a lot of the local hire kart centres around Adelaide. The members who are part of the club are eligible for winning championships. So we had one that was meant to come up, I think, this weekend, but that had to be cancelled because of COVID. So the Paraka 100 will be held at Pro Karts Paraka on Research Road. And that's actually going to be on Sunday, the 19th of September at 2 p.m. So It's actually a 100-lap individual driver event, and anyone that's been around Paraka would know that that's going to test you. So the format's going to be a 10-lap qualifying session with 2 25-lap heats and then a 40-lap final. So you'll definitely earn your bickies there.
I hear I've been signed up.
You have.
Unwittingly signed up for that one.
You have. If you have any hope and want to actually win your heavy championship, then my suggestion would be that you race it, especially because El Presidente here has actually offered it as a double points race.
It's going to be exciting. I hope we get it. Throw the barbecue on. We'll put some food and stuff on, cakes, all that sort of stuff. It's going to be an interesting day. So feel free to come out, make yourself known, say hi to us all. The club's it's a very social and friendly atmosphere down there at Pro Karts Paraka on the 19th of September. I'm looking forward to it. As much as the track I know is going to break me, I'm looking forward to it.
Man up, mate.
Yeah, I know.
You go to F45. You have no excuse.
I'll have a half a glass of cement and harden up.
With all those Bang energy drinks that you've been having, mate, today, there'd be no reason why you can't be on your game.
I reckon so. Bang energy powered me through today. Don't worry about that.
But no, that's going to be the precursor to the big one, which will be on the 28th of November, which is the Tail and Bend 200, the 4-hour enduro that's held at the Bend. And that'll be that's going to be massive. It's a long day, but it's a massive day in terms of the everything about it.
It's the biggest event that the club's done.
Yeah, absolutely. We did it about 2 years ago, and it was revered, and it's back. So I'm looking forward to that. But look, any listeners that want to come out and have a hire kart race and get a feel for the club and what we do, we have an official podium presentation. We've got champagne celebrations. There's trophies that are on offer. So we try and replicate the experience that karters have, and also Formula One drivers or anyone that's raced has gone through the karting ranks.
Motorsport in general just have that podium and champagne. It's part of the celebration.
Yep. And look, there's a lot of people out there that may take the mickey out of hire karts, but for some people, they got introduced into the sport with hire karts, firstly. But secondly, a true driver, in my opinion, has the ability to adapt to a variety of disciplines. And hire karts gives you seat time. It gives you the experience to race in a pack, learn in a safe, controlled environment. But then also you get that in physical endurance, especially with the races of length that we do. But at the end of the day, the great drivers learn to adapt and have different skill sets. And that's why you see other drivers like, say, those that are in V8 supercars or Formula One or for that matter in an open wheel class, that they can cross over into different classes and different categories and just drive. Yeah. So for those that say that they're different, they're heavy, they're too inflexible, but that's what the class is all about. It's an introductory, it's a class. It's there to dip your toe in the water and allow you to take that next step. So keep a lookout for that. Jump onto the website. Entries will open up very, very shortly. The club website is www.sfcadelaide.com. And if you have a browse around there and check it out. But then also you can go onto the online shop and book your spot. All right. So for that matter, the club thrives on memberships. Yep. So if you like what you see, then by all means, jump onto the website and become a member. An adult membership is $70. A junior one is $30. I'm very, very proud that the Cowie family actually joined up during the week.
Nice of the Cowies to join in. Thanks for the support, guys.
Yep. So Rob Cowie and his family are coming on board. So from the likes of Move Yourself, so the family business that has the trailers at the Shell Servos and stuff like that. So if you ever need to move your trailers and bits and pieces about the place, hit those guys up. I'm sure they'll look after you as well. But it's when they come on board and they've got praise for what we're doing as a club under the direction of the new committee, that's what keeps me going. Yep. And that's what keeps me motivated, knowing that we're doing the right thing by the community, but also by us and our members as well. So you become an official supporter of the club, but also an official supporter of the Ferrari Formula One team as well. And you don't have to support Ferrari. Yep.
It's about supporting motorsport and supporting all forms of motorsport.
Yep.
2-wheel, 4-wheel, professional, non-professional. I think now's probably a good time as well to
talk about the social night that we've got as well. So, if you don't want to get involved actively in the karting side of things, we've got the social night at the Southern Go-Kart Club coming up, where we're going to sit and watch the Formula One Monza qualifying sprint race and have some pizzas and coffee, and the bar's going to be open. So tickets for that are $35 and available from the online store as well at sfcadelaide.com. It'd be good to see and meet a few people from the radio show there. We've got members of the Southern Go-Kart Club coming. We've got members from the Barossa Go-Kart Club coming. We've got all sorts of like-minded motorsport enthusiasts coming along to enjoy some pizza, $35 all-you-can-eat pizza and coffee. It's going to be a good night.
Yeah, exactly. And on that one, mate, you beat me to the punch. But the pizza will be fresh wood oven from good mates of mine, Angelo Caiazza and Rosa Caiazza, who own Pizza in Giro. So they've got a portable wood oven. It's going to be fresh straight out the wood oven and into your hands as well. And then also a very good mate of mine, Phil De Cesare from Caparezza 500. He's actually got a Fiat 500 and has got the coffee set up in the back of the Fiat 500. So there'll be coffee on the house there as well. So there'll be go-karts on display and bits and pieces. So that's on Saturday, September 11 at the Southern Go-Kart Club. That'll be the Monza night, so there'll be the sprint race format for that, plus also practice 3 too. $35 a head, and you'll be supporting the club and also Southern Go-Kart Club as well. All right, so you're listening to Negative Camber with Jamie and Lee, the official motorsport show of Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide on Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors, and we'll be discussing go-karting.
You're listening to Negative Camber
The official motorsport show of Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide
with Jamie and Lee
on the Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM. Welcome back to Negative Camber. It's Jamie and Lee here. Time is 7:20 on this beautiful Sunday night, and we're now going to be talking go-karting. So the Festival State Cup, which was the third round of the series. So for those that don't know, Karting South Australia run I suppose you could call it a South Australian championship over a series of rounds, much like, say, Formula One or V8s, etc. And they call it the Festival State Cup. So round 3 was a delayed round, and that was held at the Barossa Go-Kart Club, and that was on August the 7th and the 8th. So we had some Scuderia Ferrari Club members who were racing in the category, or categories. So we'll start with SRT, which is our karting team members, Ocean Colangelo and Ileana Ostojic. They were in Cadet 12 and Cadet 9. We had my cousin Nicholas Romeo, who was in the 4-stroke medium class. We had Luca Polombaro, who was in the KA4 junior light class. William Cowie, who's in Cadet 12. And then we had Josh Denton in Tag 125 light as well. Matt Hall was there. He was present. He wasn't racing. He was actually managing Jaden Canelado's kart. So that was a good chance for him to get onto the tools. But I suppose there's a lot of results that we could go through, but it was probably just more of a summation of how our members went. I'll start with Ocean. She was sensational. So she won her class first overall in Cadet 12, and her day was up and down. Like it was largely punctuated in the first half by engine reliability issues. So she had some issues with the carburetor, and it just wasn't producing enough power. And then during the course of the day, one of the competitors, now I forgot to actually write the name down, but it was Harrison, Mr. Harrison. I'll go Mr. Riley Harrison, that's the one. So shout out to Riley for and his dad for generosity for that. It's not every day that competitors are prepared to hand engines over.
Yep.
And that turned their weekend around. So Ocean started 6th in Heat 3 and ended up winning the heat, which was a cracking drive. And I was fortunate enough to see some onboard footage, and just some of the manoeuvres there that she was doing were excellent.
Drove like a girl that had been racing for decades.
Yeah. And the thing I liked about the passing and the way she executed the passing was that it was just clean.
Yeah.
There was no body contact. It was strategic. It was tactical. It was talented. So then she started 4th in the final and just picked them off one by one. And she's got a massive battle with
Noah
Enright, yeah. And he's probably had the run on her for a couple of rounds, and so to come back swinging and then take the chocolates right at the end was awesome. So
These two are probably the biggest up-and-comers that we've got in
100%.
Karting in Adelaide at the moment, starting at the bottom, the lowest level.
Yep.
Noah's got a dad that's been racing for a little while behind him, pushing him along, and the drive to want to succeed as well. And Ocean's got the same thing. Danny's an ex-racer, plenty of history there, and she's got the desire to succeed. These two are going to be going tit for tat for many, many years to come, and I'm really looking forward to their battle, progressing right through from where they are now in Cadet 12 up into the junior ranks, and giving the current juniors a run for their money.
Yeah, 100%. And look, I'm honoured and I'm so chuffed that I've got, and the club has got, two little girls in the team and juniors that have got potential either for the now but also in the future, even with Ileana. So, and I'm really proud to, have the club, you as well, Matt, etc., and all of our members that are in the pit lane supporting one another, because that's one of the things that I've really tried to do with SRT, is not only have tutelage from, say, yourself and Matt, but then also, have like a bit of a network with driver coaching, like, say, Josh and Craig Denton, for example, with TD Racing, engine building and all that sort of stuff. So what it showed was that give Ocean the power plant, she'll deliver the goods. Now we've just got to make sure that she's got the power plant there to do it, and her engine will need a little bit of TLC. Ileana, she was 4th overall in her class, and that was I think her first time at Barossa. So expectations weren't huge. I mean, the podium would have been great, but she was consistent all weekend, 4th overall. So again, she's coming along in leaps and bounds. I know that Pete, her father, and yourself are going to sort of sit down next week and note out some driver training times in your very hectic schedule that you have, even though I've got you as my chief engineer for next weekend, and we'll touch on that shortly.
I've only got so many arms and legs. I can only be pulled in so many different directions.
Mate, I've got 2 arms and legs. I can lend you some. That's fine. I'm president anyway. I've got the authority to do it. So.
By the time we're done with this weekend, you won't need me anymore. So
nope. Fail. So yeah, she was great. Nick, cousin Nick, so he finished 2nd overall in 4-stroke medium. Again, his weekend was punctuated by the comeback. So qualified on pole with a dud carby. So I think he sort of got it by 3 or 4 tenths and actually set the lap record. So not bad for a kid that hasn't raced since Whyalla. They had some. He got punted off into the first heat where he'd sort of dropped a few positions, and then they had carburetor issues which were punctuated in heats 2 and 3, but then came from 6th or 7th, I think it was, and made his way up to 2nd overall in the end, and was actually catching on the leader as well. So, great comeback, and that keeps his title hopes alive as well. So that was awesome to see. And then you had little Luca. He was 4th overall, but he was 2 seconds off first place.
Yep.
That
was in KA3, yeah.
KA4 junior light.
Okay.
So, you know what? At the end of the day, they would have got trophies for top 5, I think, in those classes in the juniors. So you still walk away with a bit of a prize. And you know what? 2 seconds off first place is actually not a bad gig. No. When all is said and done, you take away the emotion out of it. I'd be happy, pretty chuffed with 4th, 2 seconds off. Top spot at the end of the day. Yeah,
it shows how close it is too.
Yeah.
Not many karts, half a second between each kart.
Yeah, it was very
close racing.
Yeah, 100%. And then Josh Denton, who pulled probably one of the moves of the race. Have you seen the onboard footage?
I wouldn't say it was a move. It was multiple moves spread over the course of about 4 corners on the first lap of that race. Did he go from about 14th or something up to 2nd in the space of 3 corners? And at Barossa, that's not very far. That's maybe about 150 metres.
Yep.
So, I watched that onboard footage a couple of times, and kudos to Josh. He's had one of those dream runs, Moses parting the Red Seas, as they say, and everybody made way for him. Yeah, it was like they were scared of him, and they just, here you go, have the door. Here it is, wide open.
You know what the secret is? I'll tell you now. It's the bright yellow in the helmet.
You reckon?
100%.
That's why I have a fluoro orange helmet, because it's bright as well. It stands out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I've got the bright yellow helmet. They see you. It's like this. It's the force. It's like this pull where you just come flying through and they part ways from you. It's great.
Jedi Master.
Yeah, exactly. So it's got the braking performance of the SQ, that go-kart too. It's just loose and great and fast and makes up ground, and it's great. But Josh was awesome as well, when punctuated by the passes, if you want to call it that. So what that leads us to is Festival State Cup at Southern Go-Kart Club, which is actually going to be held next weekend, so our home track.
Yep. 22nd of, what are we now, August? 22nd of August at Bolivar Go-Kart Club. We'll be there all day. Team will be parked just inside the entry gate with the big red tents.
Yep.
I think we organised it with the big Italian flag look to it last time, so there'll be a few of us under the tent.
Mm-hmm. Yep, well, we'll definitely be there. So we'll be there for practice on Saturday morning. And then obviously we're racing on Sunday afternoon. And I hear it's going to be wet.
It is apparently going to be wet. Your esteemed brother sent me a message this morning and wondered whether he might need to buy some new wet weather tyres, which
He's got them in my trailer. I saw him yesterday.
I strongly advised him that he needs to buy some new ones. So, look, if it's wet, that's going to throw a cat amongst the pigeons. It's really going to bring the playing field back to square.
Yep.
It's going to sort the men from the boys, so to speak. So I'm really looking forward to it. I love the wet conditions, especially out at Bolivar. It's one of my favourite places to drive in the wet. And bring it on.
Yeah. If you had to describe Bolivar as a track to listeners that might not be too familiar with it, you're one of the kings of Bolivar, so I'll let you guide them through for a lap.
It starts, obviously, it's got a nice long straight, so you get a good run down to turn 1. Nice tight section at the end of the front straight there through 1 and 2. Again, another little short stretch, which is good enough if you get the person in front of you to make a mistake in turn 1 and 2. You can make a passing manoeuvre there. Or even if you've got some cojones, you can just shove it up the inside there as well. Tight corner, so it really takes a lot of skill. You're on another section of track that's really flat out for a good 10 seconds, so you got to be mindful to get out of that corner, which is commonly referred to as Wakefield because it's really close to Port Wakefield Road.
Soon to be North Corner.
Soon to be Northern Expressway Corner.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you get a good run out of that, get through the fast S's under the gum tree as quickly as you can, and use all of the road on the exit. Again, into another really tight section of the track, commonly referred to as Tyson's or Pit Corner.
Yep.
Again, another really good passing opportunity, which leads into probably the most technical pieces of track in Australia. Come out of the left-hander into a weirdly shaped right-hand corner where it opens itself up on you naturally on the entry. So again, another really good passing opportunity. And then we've got the fast flat-out sweeper onto the front straight. Fast, technical. A lot of drivers in Australia think it's one of the best tracks in Australia.
Yep.
It's right up there near on everybody's lists. It takes a lot of skill to get around it quickly, and a lot of skill to hold people off. It can really... Lots of exciting finishes because there's just so many passing opportunities. It's a technical track.
Yeah. Look, I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, obviously it's been well storied and publicised about our racing that we had there last time when it was wet and we walked away quite successful. I don't think we're going to have the same luxuries as what we did last time. I think there'll be a much more level playing field across all the classes. So for us, our strategy is just going to go out there to do our business, go about our business in a professional manner, represent the club with pride, and just focus on getting the results and just let the rest take care of itself. But it'll be a good chance to see the girls again, catch up with all the parents and families, and look, feel free to come out and watch the racing. Like, across all classes, the racing is a very, very high quality. So free entry, you just walk in through the gates, there's a canteen there, you can't miss our tent, we've got a coffee machine on the house. I'm happy to meet new people as well as all the other team members and just watch some really good quality, high quality grassroots racing.
Yeah.
So the Saturday afternoon sports show is going to come out to one of the events very, very soon. We'll have Mark Aston and David Heath there too, and that's going to be pretty exciting stuff as well, and good sport promotion too. So, yeah, I reckon we'll go off into a break. We'll probably just chill out now with some songs. DJ Dave's in the house, and he's just going to let some clips fly. So over to you, good sir.
That was the Beatles with Let It Be, one of my all-time favourite songs from one of my all-time favourite bands. You're back with Jamie and Lee, the official Scuderia Ferrari Club radio show. It's time now to talk about some Formula One, Jamie.
Yes.
We have been blessed with Formula One in the last month. I tell you what, 2 absolutely cracking races. Silverstone after we left here from the studio last time, and now Hungary.
Yeah. I will go as far as saying Hungary was the race of the year by up to this point. by a fair stretch. So yes, the Hungarian Grand Prix was run on the 1st of August. It was an absolutely cracking race, and we've got some highlights of the event for you now, which Dave will put on air.
Lights out and away we go, and Hamilton does get away very well indeed. Bottas doesn't. Verstappen's already nearly alongside him, and there goes Lando Norris down the inside. It is Hamilton ahead of Verstappen. Bottas has dropped 3 or 4 places, and there's Lando Norris touched, and into each other goes Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez, and that's the Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri getting caught up as the McLaren spun round with the Ferrari as well. And Max Verstappen, I think, has gone tumbling down the order. Yeah, Max Verstappen has got caught out with that. On board now with Valtteri Bottas, and he made contact with both Red Bulls there.
Bottas took out both Red Bull cars.
Lance Stroll, just arriving far too quickly into the scene. It's a red flag. We are stopping this race while the marshals can clear the debris, the damage you can see on car number 33. And look how dry the track seems to be.
So let's see how quickly we see the first slick tyre runners.
At this rate, everyone is going to box.
They are standing by and they are ready with tyres. They are the red tyres. Is he going to dive into the pit lane? No, he's not, but Esteban Ocon is. Hamilton's going to be the only one who's going to start this race. So what Hamilton needs to do here is to get as far ahead as possible of the rest of the field. Otherwise, he is going to lose out big time. It's going to be lights out and away we go for Lewis Hamilton only. The race leader is the only driver who's not come into the pit lane to change tyres. Now, he can race full blast down towards turn 1. There's nobody behind him, and through he goes. But out now, into the race comes the Williams of George Russell, who is up in a second place. Then Ocon, then Vettel, then Latifi, then Tsunoda, and then Sainz, then Raikkonen and Alonso.
Yeah, straight. Yeah, copy Lewis, so box.
Oh, has he got a puncture? Is there a problem with George Russell? Oh no, not more bad luck for George Russell. When is it ever going to change for him?
Russell doesn't have a problem. He was told by the FIA to give the places back because he undertook the cars who were queuing up in the pit stops when he made his pit stop. Of course, Williams at the end of the pit lane.
Esteban Ocon takes the lead. Sebastian Vettel goes through. When Hamilton comes out into this race, he's now going to feel right in the back because that's where he is. Max Verstappen, his title rival's gone through. Oh, and there's a collision in the pit lane between Mazepin and Raikkonen, and that is why Nikita Mazepin is out of this race. Verstappen trying to go around the outside of Mick Schumacher. They come close. Verstappen goes off the road. Schumacher stays ahead of the Red Bull. Hamilton can't get past Gasly. Now Verstappen's going to go and try round the outside at turn 2. He's got the pace advantage. Schumacher's got the inside line. They bang wheels as Verstappen goes through turn 3. He gets his elbows out and he muscles his way past the Haas. Verstappen into the points. Into the pits, though, comes Lewis Hamilton. He's setting fastest laps of this race, but is there more pace in this Mercedes? Do they need to put Lewis on a different strategy here to try and force his way back into this race again? So now getting a bit of track position is what they want, and that's why Red Bull are making this pit stop, but also they don't want Hamilton trying to undercut them. Here comes Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton's going to get past Max Verstappen. Can he get past Danny Ricciardo as well? That will be double bubble if you're Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes, and the undercut has worked here at the Hungaroring. Esteban Ocon comes out onto the track. He's ahead of Sebastian Vettel, who had a brilliant outlap himself, but not quite good enough to get past Esteban Ocon. Alpine lead, Alpine second, Alonso yet to stop, Ocon has stopped, Vettel down to third. The race is on now to the checkered flag, and Vettel is not going to give this up because he's on warmer tyres. Ocon's looking in his mirrors, wondering where Vettel is. He's right behind him, can't find a way through at turn 4. As here goes with back markers getting in the way, almost Sebastian Vettel getting past Esteban Ocon.
And very, very consistent at the moment, Ocon. So fantastic, and he is looking on for a potential win. So this is what Lewis needs to do with Alonso. Set it up in turn 1. Ricciardo had to block, so had a bad run out of turn 1, and then Verstappen round the outside into turn 2. That's the best way to do it.
Now Hamilton forces Alonso to defend in the way Nico Rosberg said that he should be doing, but still Fernando Alonso gets better traction going out of turn 1. Hamilton trying to go around the outside here into turn 2, does brake later this time, not late enough. Alonso stays ahead, but this is going to carry on and on, because don't forget the pace advantage that Mercedes has towards turn 4. This time he's alongside, and I think they might have touched there as well. Hamilton had to back out of it. Alonso somehow is keeping Hamilton at bay. This is incredible. As down the main straight we go once again, nudging 195 miles an hour.
Yes, very close now.
Here comes Hamilton. He just backed off a little bit too early, but Alonso is locked up. This is Hamilton's chance. It has been coming for a few laps now. You can hear the cheers from the crowd. Hamilton is up into 4th place, but he's still got to defend it. Alonso trying to go round the outside, wasn't quite alongside him, and Hamilton is now released from behind the Alpine to chase after Carlos Sainz. Hamilton is so much closer around the final corner this time around, but Sainz has got DRS because he's about to lap Daniel Ricciardo. Moves over to the right hand side. Hamilton is with him. Hamilton has got the pace advantage and has got better traction coming out of that corner. Sainz forces him deep to try and put some more pressure on him, but it doesn't quite happen, and through goes Lewis Hamilton into the podium places here in Hungary. Sainz is going to fight this one back. Eventually he might have to yield. He does yield. It is Ocon, it is Vettel, it is Hamilton, the top 3.
It's Alonso who cost Lewis the win today, because he's just closing up now, but it's too late.
He might have been challenging Ocon for the win. No one's challenging Ocon for the win now. Esteban Ocon is going to be a Grand Prix winner in Formula 1. Ocon wins the Hungarian Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel takes 2nd for Aston Martin. Lewis Hamilton from 14th comes back to finish on the podiums. Très bon, très bien, and formidable. Esteban Ocon, well done. I could not be more pleased for that man winning a Formula 1 Grand Prix.
Yes, guys. Well done, mate.
It closes it in fine style for Ocon and Alpine in a recovery mission for Lewis Hamilton and for Mercedes, and for the 2nd race running, an absolute horror for Red Bull. The title lead goes to Mercedes in drivers and constructors. We're going to take a summer break. Join us on the other side. There's a lot more to play for in 2021.
Yes, that was an absolute ripping race.
Corker.
Yeah, for me that was, I was up late that night and I couldn't go to sleep.
Yeah.
There's been other races this year, fair to say that the TV's been watching me. Yeah, that was probably one of the best races I've seen in quite a long time.
From start to finish, the action didn't stop. You know, like you said, there's been many races this year where I've gotten to at least 2/3 of the way through, and then you could predict what was going to happen for the last third of the race. But this one kept you guessing the whole way through, and it was not over until the fat lady sung.
Yeah, absolutely. So the results. So after the race had finished, overnight, we being the audience, got notification that Seb Vettel had been disqualified from 2nd position. So what it actually meant was that everyone had actually jumped up a spot. So the final top 10 positions were: first Esteban Ocon, 2nd was Lewis Hamilton, 3rd was Carlos Sainz, my boy, cracking drive. I'll talk about that later. 4th was Fernando Alonso, 5th Pierre Gasly, 6th was Yuki Tsunoda, 7th was Nicholas Latifi, 8th was George Russell, 9th was your boy Max Verstappen, and 10th was your idol Kimi Raikkonen. So what that meant in the drivers' standings was Lewis Hamilton retook the lead of the championship on 195 points, followed by Max Verstappen dropping to 2nd on 187. Lando Norris holding steady at 113 in 3rd position. 4th was Valtteri Bottas on 108 points. 5th, Sergio Perez on 104. 6th is Carlos Sainz on 83 points, closely followed by Charles Leclerc in 7th with 80 points. 8th, Pierre Gasly on 50. And then you've got Daniel Ricciardo in 9th with 50 points, and 10th is Esteban Ocon on 39 points. So after the race, the drivers had this to say.
How do you respond to that?
Yeah, I completely understand the feelings. All I can do is to take it on us. It was a small mistake being too late on the brakes, and took out Lando and the two Red Bulls, and it's not how things should go, but in the rain it can be quite tricky.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's another look at it. I mean, he just lay it on the brakes, wasn't he? Went into the back of Lando, which obviously concertinaed straight into Max, and very unlucky on his behalf. I suppose it's just freakish or ironic that you get it a couple of weeks running.
Do you think maybe Toto also, because he got sandwiched and he had to back out, and that put him off guard a little bit? Do you think that contributed to a lack of focus a little bit for the braking right after?
Yeah, I think he got sandwiched, and then the moment they closed, they braked. Or a tiny bit later, and then he was too late.
Yeah, because in that moment you're probably focused on, I need to avoid a crash here.
It's too late,
and then you're not looking at that braking point, and it all happens so fast. So I think that can be a little bit of an excuse there for Valtteri.
Yeah, as I said, it's a small mistake that caused so much, such a big accident, costing them a lot of points, and possible 2 cars on the podium. So
will you apologise to them for what happened today? Is that what you need to do, do you think? Or?
No, I will do it in public, like I'm doing it here with you. That I'm sorry for that.
Okay. With regards to the race and how it panned out from you, aside from Bottas, for Lewis, what happened there on the restart? Can you explain the thinking?
To be honest, I think we did absolutely the right thing. There's no one in the team that would have done otherwise. As a leading car, it's always difficult to take the decision. And if you're the only one going pitting, then you come out last. And there is the difficulty of getting out of the pit stand because everybody's pitting. And now it looked like we were a little bit lonely there on the grid, and obviously it played against us.
Yeah, it was a bit strange, but I mean, as far as you know, though, your strategic team didn't think there was going to be any more rain, though. They thought there was going to be sun. So were you not expecting that everyone's going to do that? We should take the lead on it.
No, with the sun, it dried up so quickly that within a lap, actually, it was dry. And these things can happen. I stand absolutely behind the decision to stay out, and that's why I'm fine. I think we could have gambled as a leading car and come in with also a disastrous outcome, and then if that would happen, people would have said that we have done a mistake. So that was the right decision.
I mean, in defense, it's just the most extreme situation, which we've never seen like that. And the problem was the track drying so fast. It was unbelievable. And the thing was, though, I mean, it was very, very dry. So that's the one that you still got to question a little bit, whether Lewis could have taken that decision. Because it's just completely dry out there.
I think if just 5 cars out there that would have stayed there, probably we would have had a much better race. But things happen, and at the end of the day, you know how it is with karma. Maybe we shouldn't have taken full points today.
After that, could anything have been done better to get that win? Because it was very close in the end.
Yeah, I think Alonso was just the Alonso we know, fighty, and defended how he could, and he made his teammate win the race, because a lap or two later we would have probably gotten it, and it's a good podium, it's good for the sport.
Yeah. Toto, thank you very much. Appreciate you taking the lead in both championships. So we'll let you go. Have a good break, and we'll see you.
All right, so yeah, we weren't meant to have drivers, but we got trigger happy and got Toto instead. So and I guess it's a good segue to talk about the first lap crash, because that's really what changed the entire Grand Prix.
Yeah, 100%.
Had Lewis actually, because Lewis was in front comfortably, and probably would have gone and steamrolled the whole Grand Prix.
Yeah.
But the fact that Valtteri made the error that he did pretty much had changed the race for a lot of drivers, but now there's going to be ensuing consequences for the championship moving forward, in particular with damaged cars.
Yeah, obviously they've got the cost cap this year, so we have damage bills adding up, and Red Bull have been involved in a couple of big shunts now. You know, Max Verstappen this weekend, Max Verstappen at Silverstone as well. Ferrari are another one after Stroll as well turned himself into a bowling ball in turn 1 there. So there's a lot of teams and a lot of cars that are facing some grid penalties and some hefty damage bills, engines and chassis and the like. It's going to shake up the restart after the summer break.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, on face value, when you first saw the crash, it did look a little bit amateurish from Valtteri and also Stroll. However, having been in that situation going into a first corner in the wet, it doesn't take much for it to turn pear-shaped pretty quickly, regardless of
skill level. Yeah,
100%.
You've got your eyes in 55 different directions at the start of the race. You're looking out for cars behind you. You're looking out for cars next to you, and you're still trying to look out for cars in front of you as well. So, like Toto said in the clip there, he just got to that pinch point and missed what was happening in front of him because he was focused on the two cars that were pinching in on each side of him. And then from the minute that he pressed the brakes, he had to hit them too hard, too much pressure. And once you're locked up in the wet, you're a passenger. If anything, you don't slow down, you gain speed, and that was evident with the ripple effect of him smashing into everybody. A few guys caught out off guard. It could have been a completely different race. Ricciardo nearly snuck through there, and he would have come out in second place.
Yep.
But he got skittled as well when Stroll smashed into the side of Leclerc. So there was a lot of guys and a lot of damaged cars and a lot of unfortunate bystanders that got caught up in that mess.
Yeah, 100%. So now what we'll actually do is go back to the driver interviews and cover what they had to say after the race.
Austria we finished second, obviously, and the next good place, to get would have been the win, but we were not expecting it today. Clearly not. It's my favorite track, one of my favorite, as I always say, and to make it here, it's extra special.
I tried really everything, so yeah, I'm a bit disappointed because it was so close, and when it's so close, obviously, I really wanted it to happen, but well done to Esteban, and I'm happy for him. It's his day in the end.
I'm feeling better, and I'm just I'm grateful that I was able to come and it's a historic moment for Esteban, so I'm glad that I got to share it with him on the podium, and then I really wanted to make the press conference. So
I had to fuel save a lot in the last 10 laps. The McLaren in front in the last corner, he could have got out of the way, to be honest, quite clearly earlier than that, but this is what it is in the end. P4 I think was where I was going to finish after the problem at the pit stop.
Top 5 is the best result of the year for me. Winning the race for the team is the best result ever, and we have some kind of history in this track, winning in Renault in 2003 and now winning as Alpine in 2021.
Congrats to Esteban on the win. I think they made the best out of the situation, and fortunately we were taken with the wrong cars. At least I managed to avoid the accident and keep going, and we managed to save some points.
For the team, as a team, we got P6, P7 for the points. So from P16, I'll be happy.
Yeah, just focus on my own race. I mean, in the end, I know I didn't have the pace to stick with the guys in front when I was in P3, so just making sure getting my tires to the end. And in the end, I really struggled with them. I got hit quite hard, so double points finish for the team. Amazing P8 in the championship going into the summer break. Yeah, I guess that's the best we could have hoped for this weekend.
It means more than just scoring our first points. It's 3 years of hard work, dedication, tough moments. Personally, for everybody in the team, and just I'm emotional. It's weird. It's more than what the result today shows.
The car was just extremely difficult to drive, and of course I gave it all I had, and at least we could take 1 point. It's better than nothing. But yeah, the last 2 races haven't gone our way, and it was of course not our fault. But yeah, we just need to keep being focused, try to forget about it, and just look ahead.
Pretty much knew that we're gonna get penalized because that's what happens when you release on the wrong time. But that was pretty end of our race at that point.
Obviously, a lot of our races were compromised today. I'm not the only one, but of course frustrating when, for maybe half a second, I was thinking we've got out of this in P2. So, it is what it is.
I think it really gave everybody a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel today again. Obviously, after a disappointing day yesterday, I think today was a very, very positive day.
Today was the race that we need to do something, and we didn't. So, yeah, really disappointed. But yeah, it's like this.
It's just really annoying. That's one race I really wanted to be in, and not only for me, but I think this race offers a lot of opportunities, and my team does really need those opportunities. And it's just unfortunate that other teams make mistakes and send cars out.
My job was very good. It was a very good start, and I did everything I needed to do. But through no fault of my own, I'm here sadly talking to you.
I had a poor start, had wheel spin off the line and lost places, and then braking in the first corner I was right in the gearbox of Lando, and I just locked the wheels. So probably being that close, didn't calculate quite right the braking point. Blocked the wheels, hit him, and then it was a mess.
As a team, I really hope that Max can recover some points because what happened today, it's a very bad error from Valtteri.
In most of incidents, I can understand whenever there are different views about incidents, but I think today it's very, very clear. And I was in my corner, and just Lance drove into me in the middle of the corner, coming out from nowhere. So it's hugely frustrating because I knew it was an opportunity today. I went quite easy at the beginning to just try and stay in my position and make our race later on, and then to finish like this is just...
Yeah, it was just really tricky, very slippery, and I tried to avoid the cars in front of me, and it just was a disaster.
So there you have it. Amazing weekend, and there's so many things that we need to uncover, which we'll do over the course of the next hour or so. So I think what we really should do is the main talking point I think we need to cover, first of all, is the Sebastian Vettel penalty. Mm-hmm. So the regulations are, for those that don't know, is that after the race, the stewards need to be able to extract 1.5 litres of fuel out of the tank of the car of racing fuel. So imagine a Mount Franklin big bottle of water or a Coke full of fuel. All they could do apparently was 300 mil. And was disqualified.
Yep.
So it had no impact on the race. It had no bearing on the result. It had no impact on the performance. I don't know, mate. What are your thoughts on it?
It's the rules. It's to the letter of the rule. It's been that way for many, 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 many years. It's not something that's been brought in this year only or for that race only. So it's just a mistake, and unfortunately it's pretty black and white. It is exactly how the rule's written, that if they can't extract their 1.5 litres of fuel, then you will get disqualified because they need it for the purposes of fuel testing. And that's how they do their numbers. You know, they're not measuring their numbers of contaminants in the fuel off of 300 mils of fuel. It's written to the letter, 1.5. So, you know, like I said, that's fair game for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if with technology that they've got these days and the highest level of sport that they've got, surely you'd be able to do a fuel analysis on 300 mil instead of 1.5.
I mean, I'm sure that you could, but that's not how the rule's written. So if it's played by the rule, it's about fuel usage as well through the race. And, I was going to say 19 other cars managed to do it, but not that many finished the race. So, you know, they've done it every other race this season. It's not, like I said, a new rule. With the technology, like you mentioned, that they've got and the strategists that they've got sitting on their pit wall, they build all these numbers into their strategies when they send the car out for the start of the race. Something happened from between the pit wall and the driver, and they consumed too much fuel. So, unfortunately, they deserved to be rubbed out, and they got what the letter of the rules states.
Yeah, apparently Aston Martin was claiming that there was an issue with with a mechanism within the fuel pump, which prevented them from getting the fuel. But they initially appealed it, and then the FIA has now since rejected it. So the position's now as stand, which is a shame because Vettel had a cracking drive.
He did. He was on fire, putting loads of pressure on Ocon. And through no fault of his own, he gets the points taken off of him, and he gets the podium taken off of him.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll come back and do the Hungarian Grand Prix in further detail with a couple of new segments that we introduce. We need to now go to a news break. You're listening to Negative Camber with Jamie and Lee, the official motorsport show of Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide on Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM.
Radio Italia Uno.
You're listening to Negative Camber,
the official motorsport show of Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide,
with Jamie and Lee
on Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM. Welcome back, everyone, to Negative Camber. This is Jamie and Lee here on the official motorsport show of Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide. We've just gone 8:05, and we hope you are enjoying the show and the slightly revised format. Before we get into the thick of the Hungarian Grand Prix again, we've actually just started our new Facebook page, so I'll give that a bit of a plug. So if you want to start following the page, which will have all sorts of motorsport bits and pieces and some inside, let's say, frivolities of us and what we do and what we get up to behind the scenes, just type in Negative Camber, the Motorsport Show on Facebook, and click a like or follow us and enjoy the content. So we'll upload the shows to our Spotify channel as well. So all of our previous episodes before we came on air is on Spotify. So you can click on the link there and get up to speed with some of the characters that we'll start to introduce to the general public moving forward. So, yeah.
And it's their show as well, so, engage with us. If you want to hear about something in particular, send us a message and pick a topic for us, and we'll, digest it a little bit further. We're really encouraging audience participation in this show, so, like I said, jump on board. Give us some suggestions, some things you want to hear about, and we'll be more than happy to try and give you a better understanding or give you guys our opinions or our thoughts on those in particular topics.
Yeah, 100%. So, getting back into the Formula One, Hungary. So, championship impact with Red Bull versus Mercedes. So, the weekend started with Red Bull approaching the FIA, protesting the penalty that Lewis had received after the shenanigans at the British Grand Prix, and was suitably rejected by the FIA, going out. Effectively, their reasoning was that the matter was dealt with on the track on the day. The punishment fit the crime in their eyes, and even though you don't believe so, to you.
Look, it was about the Red Bull not bringing enough new information, and the stuff that they did bring to the FIA, they didn't feel that it was, to be treated as evidence. It was more just their explanation of the facts that had already been discovered from the race. So for an appeal like that to be upheld, they actually have to show a solid piece of evidence that wasn't made available at the time of the initial sanctioning, and Red Bull failed to do that. So within their right, the FIA, and still much to my disgust, they threw it out. But that's racing.
Yeah, 100%. And so what that did was that set the tone for the rest of the weekend between those two teams. And then what didn't help was the fact that Mercedes had done some further upgrades to their car. And this was probably, I'd say, not since the Spanish Grand Prix earlier this year, where the Mercedes looked like the Mercedes of 2020.
Yeah.
Probably, if not even more so. Like both those cars were dialed in from the moment they came out on the track. So Red Bull were always on the back foot, and then obviously they didn't get pole position, and then you got skittled within the first 150 metres of the start. So as you can understand, with the championship turnaround where they've lost the Constructors' Championship lead, they've lost the Drivers' Championship lead, it's added some spark and some tension into the pit lane. And so after the race, there was an interview with Christian Horner, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, let's get your reaction to another tough day at the office. First of all, with what happened at the start.
Yeah, look, it's frustrating. I mean, Valtteri obviously made a bad start. It looks like he misjudged his braking point for the first corner. Sort of a karting error where they try and take too much back. And unfortunately, the result for us, he eliminated both of our cars. So, massively frustrating. I mean, the damage, the cost of the damage, it looks like an engine on Sergio's car. And for Max, there just wasn't the ability. I mean, the mechanics worked wonders to get that car even running. I mean, all the temperatures were off the scale where they've had to straighten pipes out. Hugely frustrating.
With the temperature off the scale, is that a worry then now for the reliability of that engine that's in the car?
Well, no, thankfully, it was only one lap, so they managed to get it under control, for the balance of the race. And I think, he's run with half a car. The entire right-hand side of the barge board was missing. He probably had less downforce than Mick Schumacher today. So, that's brutal for us. But I think the team, they did well to get their car back out there. They nailed the fastest stop. Max fought, for that 1 point, and that could prove vital, at the end of the year.
Yeah, and it was a Mercedes car, unfortunately, that took out eventually both of your cars, actually. I just saw Toto walk up to you there. He gave you a nudge on the shoulder. Did he apologise?
Is he going to pay the bill?
Do you accept the apology?
Yeah, it's racing. It's not. Toto wasn't driving the car, so his driver was driving the car. I'm sure he didn't tell him crash into Red Bull. I'm sure he wasn't that sorry to see the result, but I'm sure he didn't tell Valtteri to do that. But the consequence of it for us is brutal, and in a cost cap environment, that needs looking at, and he's looking at by the FIA.
How'd you pick the team up? Because you're going in, they've got the momentum coming into the summer break. They're taking the lead in both championships. Your emotions now are probably one of anger, but at some point you're going to have to.
Yeah, but you know what? Look at the first half of this year. Well, we're not even at the halfway point, but we've had 6 Grand Prix victories. The races we've lost are with a tyre explosion. We're taken out of Silverstone, and this race, this weekend. So I think we've got a lot to be positive about, and the whole team is fully motivated. We're going to take a couple of weeks out, get recharged, and come out fighting for the second half of this championship. And I think it's all to play for. There's only the difference between a first and second between the two guys. I think it's going to be epic the second half of this year, and we're not giving up anything.
We all think so too. Thank you, Christian. Hard luck today. Have a good break, and we'll see you.
So there you have it. That was Christian Horner post-race, and I think at one point I was just about calling the title done, but now we are well and truly alive, and we're going to be set up for a cracking season between those two teams.
Half time, as you would say, in the championship, and status quo from round one. So bringing on the second half of the season, and I'm looking forward to it too. I don't think it's over by a long shot. This is one of those championships that I reckon could go down to the wire.
Yep.
We've heard some fighting words from both team bosses there, and I'm sure the drivers are equally as excited to get out of this summer break. It feels like a disservice. The championship's building and building and building. We've had 2 of the most epic races with some massive drama, and then it's all just got to stop for 4 weeks.
Yep.
It's just not fair.
I know, but you need a bit of a reset and a bit of a...
Gives us time to catch our breaths.
Yeah, exactly. So, speaking of quality driving and defence, etc., Fernando.
Oh, how good. Back to the Fernando of old.
Superb. Now, your mate Max could learn a thing or two about defensive driving tactics and class, because Fernando put on a clinic. So, kids, please... if you want to learn how to drive and learn the art of defensive driving and how to hold and maintain your position, please watch the 5 minutes of Fernando Alonso versus Lewis Hamilton in the Hungarian Grand Prix. Do not watch the 30 seconds of Max Verstappen trying to overtake Mick Schumacher and once again cannot execute a clean pass by banging wheels. Over to you, Lee.
Well, I don't know why you keep bringing him in as my mate, Max Verstappen. I've never once claimed him to be my mate, and nor will I ever claim for him to be my mate. It's just I prefer him over the other person in this championship battle. But, I've got many of Kimi Räikkönen's greatest moments and passing battles, and him and Fernando racing each other saved on my laptop. So, there's an art to it, and, there's aggression, and then there's controlled aggression, and what Fernando did really helped out Esteban Ocon. Esteban drove a masterful race. He deserved that win, and he needed a wingman like Fernando there to back him up, because, like Toto said in that presser a little bit earlier on, had Hamilton got past Fernando any quicker, Hamilton would have been on for the win as well.
Yeah. What it showed to me was that even at the age of 40, God bless you, Fernando, that the Italians have a saying that l'acqua non è la classe, which means that class is not water, it doesn't run out.
Yeah.
And if Fernando was in a car that was of the equivalent of a Mercedes,
he'd be up there still. He's still got plenty of talent. He's shown that on many occasions, and especially we go back to Silverstone, that sprint race. How many positions did he make up off the start in the sprint race? He did it again this weekend, or the Hungarian Grand Prix weekend in the wet, and on the restart made up a load of positions.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no lack of skill or talent in that man at all.
Yeah, and I do only tease you about Max. I want to see whether I can get your red face to get any darker. Maybe we'll match the LEDs here when we go on air.
Oh, you're not going to get me with calling Max Verstappen my mate. There's plenty of worse drivers you could pick.
I know, true, fair enough. So what we'll do very quickly before we head off to play some songs and some tunes, your thoughts on Ferrari and Carlos Sainz?
They had a great race.
Yeah.
Carlos did what he needed to do, stayed out of trouble, set some good lap times when he had clear air. They played a good strategy, a change again for Ferrari, and he deserved his podium placing. He got it by unfortunate, Seb getting disqualified. But yeah, he deserved to be there for third place, and he picks up another trophy. And I hear they've got some pretty significant upgrades coming for later on this season, which is going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, they're going to do some modifications to the motor, which is going to put them and pitch them up against, they're hoping, McLaren, at the very least on the constructors' fire. But, I mean, Carlos's drive was excellent, and what it vindicated the pace that Ferrari had shown over the last couple of meets as a bit of a turn in form. Ironically, both his podiums this year have been on tracks that have been tight and twisty, so that suits the characteristics of the car, which weren't there last year. But certainly, pace-wise, he was extremely quick. And we've got to remember that, okay, first corner helped, but he did come from 15th on the grid.
Yep.
So, and that was a fantastic drive, and credit to him as well. But the thing I liked most of all was over the course of the race, during his radio segments and stuff like that, was his intelligence.
Yeah.
At the ability to read the race, predicting when things like drivers like Hamilton and co were going to make pit stops and bits and pieces. So you're in that speed and you've got the ability to think like that, I think is just outwardly, and it just shows a really high racing IQ.
It shows that, and Mattia Bonotto says that they've got the best driver pairing on the grid. I would tend to agree with that, but maybe it goes the other way as well. Maybe these cars are too easy to drive, and that's why they've got so much time to think.
Yeah, well, that's true too. Bring back the stick shift, you're saying?
No, maybe not the stick shifts, but they're always driving around, managing tyres, managing fuel. Maybe it's time to think about softer tyres, so they have to drive the wheels off it all race, and fuel stops as well, so they're actually working for their money.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of managing, we need to manage our time here. So we're going to drop in a couple of tunes, and we will come back with a new segment called Winners and Losers, and then followed by that we'll chow down some MotoGP as well. So you're listening to Negative Camber with Jamie and Lee, the official motorsport show of Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide and Radio Italia Uno on 87.6 FM. You're back with Jamie and Lee with Negative Camber, the official motorsport show of Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide. Bit of Arctic Monkeys there. Mate, DJ Lee, very good preferences, mate. I like it.
Just bringing in some inner music, childhood music for you on a Sunday night. Arctic Monkeys, again, one of my favourite bands up in the house. And this song, every time I hear it, whether it's in the shower, in the car, on the road, it's a sing-along guaranteed.
Yeah, I probably would... I was air drumming there behind the scenes for a little bit.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to throw my neck out doing the headbanging either. So
lucky this booth's soundproof, otherwise everyone walking down the street here would have been covering their ears.
Poor David. He's probably seen it all. All right, so Winners and Losers. A new segment brought to you by me.
Look forward to this.
So essentially what I'll be doing is, for most of the Grand Prix, I'll sort of do a summation of who I feel are the winners and the losers, and then this will probably stir some debate. It might straighten Lee's luscious locks in some cases, or add more grace to mine. So my first winner, Esteban Ocon and Alpine. So basically, Esteban, good fortune at the start, obviously by keeping his nose clean and keeping out of trouble with all the chaos and bedlam that was going on around him. But he kept steady under pressure from Seb throughout the whole race, and at some points he was actually pulling out the gap too. So he was actually the first French driver in a French car that won a race since Alain Prost did it in the Austrian Grand Prix in 1983. And that was actually the team's 50th win, but the first under the guise of Alpine. So kudos for them. It's been coming. It's been promised for a little while. But I think if you can pull something like that off, in the manner of the drive that you did, was probably very impressive.
Yeah, he had, I touched on it earlier, masterful drive, old head on young shoulders, and he had some really, really strong opposition hunting him down. Seb was putting the pressure on, taking it off, putting it back on, waiting for Esteban to make the mistake. He never did. Pit stops perfect by the team, strategy perfect by the team. They had their wingman there when they needed him, Alonso, at the end of the race. Absolutely deserved to be on the winners list in my books.
Yeah, I agree. The loser, Valtteri Bottas. So Valtteri actually looked like he was starting to turn his season around. At the beginning of the weekend, he looked really quick, and it looked like he was going to have an upturn in fortunes. And then came the first corner, and that turned everything upside down. And what it has resulted in is also, I think, a 5-place grid penalty over the next race, which Mercedes can't afford to have. in regards to the championship fight. They need to have him up there challenging, Perez and maybe taking points off Max as well. But that was actually, ironically enough, the first time that Valtteri has ever crashed in the first corner of a race on lap 1 too. So, look, we had a little bit of an in-joke between you and me during the week when George Russell was doing the pre-season, in-season testing with Mercedes over the new tyres and wheel regs as well. I think your crystal ball is looking very, very nice and polished at the moment.
Yeah, like you said, he looks like he's pulling his season together, but they don't award points on Friday or Saturday. So when it seems to matter, he's not there. The Mercedes are just lucky that at the moment Perez is struggling as well. Again, I think you've hit the nail on the head with this one, and Valtteri is one of the bigger losers from that race.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's got a lot of work to do in the second half of the season. Even though we actually haven't technically hit the midpoint, he's got a lot of work to do in the back end of this year to try and either save his seat or turn it around. But I think you're right. It's probably a foregone conclusion that he's gone. A winner and loser is, it breaks my heart, Seb Vettel and Aston Martin. So when Seb Vettel is cracking jokes in the Friday press conference, I don't know whether you saw it, but he was wishing Fernando a happy birthday and had a little cracker, like a little popping cracker in the background, and fired it at himself rather than Fernando instead, and caused all sorts of calamity and laughter. He's going to have a good weekend, because the last time he did that was in Azerbaijan and ended up getting a podium. So, and he could have won that race if Aston Martin had been 1 second quicker in the pit stop, because his outlap coming out of the pit lane was supreme.
Yep.
So he looked like the Sebastian of old. His drive to second place was exceptional. It was a pity that the end result was obviously the exclusion from the race, which is where the loser part comes into it. And that's not a reflection on the team or the driver at all. It's just bad luck, I guess, at the end of the day. But he's back in form, and the Ferrari Blues era is certainly well and truly behind him.
And it looks like he's enjoying his racing more and more each week as well. He's got a good team around him that support him and helping him out. I think you could have, separated this one up. You could have had the winner, Sebastian Vettel, but the team being the loser, considering on the other end of the scale they've got Lance Stroll as well, who skittled a few people at turn one. So, Sebastian drove well. He kept the pressure on when he could, knew when the fight was over, and drove to a comfortable second place. Winner indeed in my books, and like you said, it's just very unfortunate that there was not enough fuel left in the tank.
Yeah, exactly. This will be controversial. I've given Lewis Hamilton a winner.
Again.
Yeah,
this is okay.
But look, there was a bit of whinging. I'm not going to deny that. But overall, he did remain relatively calm when he was actually the only driver on the grid at the start of the race, and probably knew that he was on a hiding to nothing, knowing that he was going to be last coming from the back of the grid after lap 2 or 3. But outside of that, his drive was exceptional when married with Mercedes' tactics and his pace advantage on those tyres. So he did what he had to do. He maximised his day. Probably should have won the race in a different track, which, outside of the brilliance of Fernando Alonso, he probably would have won the race. He walks away with a 40-point turnaround in the last 2 races, and that's resurrected his championship and probably put him up top.
Yeah, I agree. Look, as much as it pains me to say it, he definitely came out of that race as best as he could. And how funny was it to see him sitting by himself on the grid for that restart? But Toto touched on it in the presser that we played earlier, but maybe it's worth unpacking that, those guys are pretty well damned if they do and damned if they don't in that situation. If they pit, everybody pits because they're the first car to come in, so everyone's going to do what the first car does, or you've got to be the first car to do something different.
Yep.
If Lewis was to come in and everyone else followed him, they're the first team in pit lane, right? So he's got to wait for that whole train of cars to come in, the other 19 cars or however many there were. So he would never have been able to get out of his pit spot. Okay, so the further you were down the pit lane, the better chance you had of actually being able to be released on time, because you would not be waiting for cars any longer.
Yep.
So, like I said, they were damned if they did, damned if they didn't, and then they just had to turn their race around. Like you said, pace advantage, they were always going to come back through the field. It was just a matter of where they were going to get to.
Yeah, 100%. My loser, Max. very, very costly 2 races. Largely not of his making, by the way, but he's only collected 5 points in the last 2 races. And potentially there's going to be damage to his car, which is going to result in a new engine later in the season. So that's going to compromise grid orders and starting positions and bits and pieces as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunate for Max through no fault of his own. He's been skittled, and like you said, it's going to have some serious consequences at the back end of the season. But loser in my books too.
Yeah. Last 2 before we go to a break. My winner, Carlos Sainz. The comeback king, my man, my boy. But coming from 15th to 4th, which later became 3rd, his second podium for Ferrari, and actually the second time that he's actually gotten a podium without being able to stand
on the podium.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it, mate? Mm-hmm. But like me. And he showed what I felt was great tactical awareness and also pace. So, A+ performance from me on that.
Not going to argue. We talked about him at length earlier. Winner for sure. Masterful drive.
Yep. Final winner, Williams.
I was hoping you were going to bring these guys up. They're in my notes too.
Yeah. So they missed out on points in multiple occasions, but they definitely made up for it on that race. They collected 10 points, with Latifi actually briefly in 3rd position, but he held on to 8th. So it was the first time that the team scored points since the 2018 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. George Russell as well got his first points in 48 starts with the team, and it was actually the first time that the team had actually got a double points haul since the 2018 Grand Prix in Monza. So what it's also done is it's elevated them to 8th in the Constructors' Championship, and that's actually ahead of Alfa Romeo, which is actually really significant considering how hard it's been for those teams to get points, in particular Haas this year as well.
Significant on so many levels, not only for them to get their first points and have some rejuvenation around the team that they can actually do it. It means a lot for them in their bank balance at the end of the year as well. To have those points come in, you get paid per point as a constructor, and it's quite a hefty sum. So, it makes the difference between them having to need a paid driver to fund their racing or being able to fund it themselves and put some money back into the team. Absolutely massively on the winners list. I just like to think, it's a bit ironic as well, the way that they finally come about getting some points after being so close on so many occasions. The amount of times George Russell's had an 11th place finish, then they both get in the points, and it's Latifi who finishes in front. It's just crazy. Yeah,
it happened a couple of years ago when Kubica scored back in Azerbaijan as well in 2018, and George Russell was pointless as well. Yeah. So they're my winners and losers, and that'll be a bit of a regular segment. So I think we got off to a pretty tame start. There was no fist fights or scratching against each other.
Nothing coming from my end where I'm going to disagree with you there. Well, I'm sure it will come soon.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
But it was a pretty easy race to pick apart the winners and the losers there. Plenty of gainers, plenty of losers.
Yeah,
nice and easy one for you to get off the ground with.
Yeah, soften my blows very, very quickly. So we are off it to another break. You're listening to Negative Camber with Jamie and Lee, the official motorsport show of Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide on Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM. We'll be back with MotoGP.
You're listening to Negative Camber,
the official motorsport show of Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide,
with Jamie and Lee
on Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM. Yes, and welcome back to Negative Camber. We are on the final stages of tonight's show. It's just nearly 20 to 9. We hope you're really enjoying it too. So, by all means, get on the Facebook page and give us some feedback. By all means, give us some information that you want us to cover in the next races, as Leah said, and the next shows too. We'd love to get your feedback on the show and whether you like what we're doing or dislike what we're doing, because criticism, positive or negative, allows us only to get better. So,
I think you got to brush up on your your racing innuendos, mate, because we've only got probably one more break. So this is the second last segment of the show. You should have said we're back for the penultimate lap.
You can't, mate. I was going to do that in the last stint.
But that's the last lap. You're one lap short, mate.
I'm doing a double stint Bathurst style, all right? Okay. So we are now on to MotoGP. So the guys from the MotoGP, the gods of MotoGP, had come back from their mid-season break. And they raced in Austria for a double header. So we'll have some race highlights very quickly now of that race last week.
It's time for Styria. Eyes on the lights. Out they go. Good start for the Ducati boys, and Miller this time really gets it hooked up, number 43, as they go in towards turn 1. More contact. Not again. It's happened again.
Marquez and Aleix Espargaro. This time the nudge even bigger. Marquez into the side of Aleix Espargaro. He's out well wide, hung out to dry big time in the factory of Aprilia, man.
Keep your eyes on 93, keep your eyes on 41, Aleix Espargaro, and Quartararo apparently involved as well. On the approach to turn 1 then, Marquez has got the inside line. Aleix Espargaro tips in. I think the first one from earlier was worse than that. I think it was more cheeky. That's more of a racing incident.
That was just Marquez running out of the room, didn't it, on the inside? But again, unfortunately, it was Aleix Espargaro. There was a man that came out of it the worst.
Quartararo moves up ahead of Miller. He goes into 3rd place.
Miller responds immediately, just using that poke of the Ducati over the crest, out of 3 and then down into turn 4. And Fabio Quartararo has got all that hard work to do all over again. He's trying to get up the inside of Miller into turn 6, and he's done it.
Harbin proved that Miller's gone down chasing the podium. That may well be World Championship over for Jack Miller. Just carrying maybe a bit too much corner speed, and that's 2 crashes in the last 2 races for Miller. He'll be mighty frustrated with himself. He's furious as Jack Miller, chasing the podium and down and out. Brad Binder as well. A very good start for him. He's up into 8th place, the number 33. He's leading KTM hopes at the moment, so whatever change maybe they made, Brad Binder is going forward. This man on screen knows what it feels like to win in your rookie season. In just a few races, Brad Binder, and he's doing a good job here late on as well to salvage a top 6. If Brad Binder doesn't pass Nakagami and Zarco, he is right on their tail. They are now approaching turn 3. That's the battle for 4th place. Binder did get Nakagami and Zarco on the line.
What a last lap.
Binder, what a racer this guy is on a Sunday. 16th on the grid to 4th. Getting very close here to Jorge Martin, looking for a move. Huge Spanish talents. But Martin, remember, is the rookie. Mir is the world champion.
Joan Mir trying. He's having to work hard to keep tabs with Jorge Martin, isn't he?
He really is. Martin is doing a splendid job this out front.
Unbelievable. Oh, Mir's made a mistake there at turn 3. I was just about to say, Mir that makes the first mistake in the braking zone for turn 3. Cost him a couple of tenths.
Yeah, it's over a second now, and we've just 6 laps to go. Is that it? Will Mir wave the white flag and say, second will do today? Ducati versus Suzuki, the rookie versus the world champion. It's Madrid versus Mallorca.
Brilliant. Really strong ride as well by Joan Mir in 2nd place.
Martin is challenging for the lead. He goes through, so the man on pole leads here in Styria. 13 laps to go, and no sign of Jorge Martin buckling under any pressure from the world champion. Just 4 laps then separating Jorge Martin, the rookie, from his first ever MotoGP win in just his 6th MotoGP race. They don't call him the Martinator for nothing. Jorge Martin is a MotoGP winner here in Styria. He finishes ahead of Joan Mir. Pramac Ducati have their win in MotoGP in the hands of a rookie. What a moment for Pramac Ducati. Paolo Campanotti, Francesco Guidotti there, Daniele Romagnoli. They work so hard,
but this man was absolutely awesome. There's his father, Papa Martin, congratulating his son. And there he is now in 2021, a MotoGP winner.
So there we have it, another cracking race by the guys from MotoGP. So top 10 results were as follows. Jorge Martin in the Ducati, followed by Joan Mir in the Suzuki. Fabio Quartararo in the Yamaha was 3rd, followed by Brad Binder in the KTM 4th, Taka Nakagami in the Honda 5th, Johan Zarco 6th, in the Ducati, Alex Rins 7th in the Suzuki, Marc Marquez 8th in the Honda, and his brother Alex in 9th in the Honda as well. And then 10th was Danny Pedroso in the comeback ride on the KTM. So for the other Italian riders, Francesco Bagnaia was 11th, followed by Valentino Rossi 13th, and Jack Miller with the DNF. So the first big news to come out of the weekend was obviously the announcement of the end-of-season retirement of the great one, Valentino Rossi. I would probably go as far as saying, if not the greatest of all time, one of, for sure.
Yeah, 100%, definitely up there with the greats of the sport, if not the absolute greatest. You look at the stats, he's been there for 26 years, 9 world titles all up through Moto3, Moto2 and MotoGP, 414 race starts, 115 wins, 235 times he's stood on the podium, and that's just absolutely incredible numbers. 1 out of every 2 races he's been on the podium. That is an absolutely phenomenal stat.
Yeah, no, he's superb, and you could say he brought MotoGP into the real mainstream and made it what it is today.
You just got to look at the following. Anytime you go to one of the tracks, the amount of VR46 flags, the yellow T-shirts that are waving and being worn by all the supporters, he was the first one that really took it to the next level and brought it to the mainstream.
Yeah, 100%. I just hope and pray that he gets through the rest of the season safely and in one piece, and that nothing sinister or serious happens, because you don't want to end it on a sour note, so to speak. So, yes. Jack Miller, title bid, done and dusted, I think.
Gone. See ya. Wave goodbye for another year.
Yep, he's 72 points behind Fabio Quartararo. We'll touch on the championship points in a sec. But, yeah, unfortunately, I love Jack. I think he's a great rider, but his riding career is characterised by those mistakes.
Yeah, we, talked him up during the earlier on this season, saying that he was riding with such a mature head, matureness that we've never seen him ride with before, and that's come crashing back to earth over the last few rounds, really. So unfortunate for Jack, but I think this year's title has gone begging. Pack her up and bring her back for next year.
Sure. The other big thing that came out over the course of the week, which was tied into this Grand Prix, was the suspension by Maverick Vinales. Now, Yamaha released this following statement. So, Yamaha regrets to announce that Maverick Vinales' entry to this weekend's Austrian MotoGP event has been withdrawn by the Monster Energy Yamaha MotoGP team. The absence follows the suspension of the rider by Yamaha due to the unexplained irregular operation of the motorcycle by the rider during last weekend's Styria MotoGP race. Yamaha's decision follows an in-depth analysis of the telemetry and data over the last days. And Yamaha's conclusion is that the rider's actions could have potentially caused significant damage to the engine of his YZR-M1 bike, which could have caused serious risks to the rider himself and possibly posed a danger to all riders in the MotoGP race. He will not be replaced at the Austrian Grand Prix, and decisions regarding the future races will be taken after a more detailed analysis of the situation and further discussions between Yamaha and the rider. Now, I have done some investigative work, and I've actually found the video footage of said suspension. It does go for a couple of minutes. So what you'll hear, guys and ladies and gents, is Maverick with the throttle, and he'll do 2 laps. And you can't see it visually. I'll actually post it up on our Facebook page after. But he's very relaxed in terms of his demeanour, and I think you'll start to see very quickly why Yamaha did what they did. pretty comprehensive evidence, isn't it?
Just slightly, for those that are playing along at home and still weren't quite sure what we were listening for. The last sort of 30 seconds there really slam it right home. All that over revving, holding it flat out and revving it onto the rev limiter, not changing gears when he should have been, changing down gears too early and really running the bike up to the red line, as you would say. So that's, the spot if you're driving along the road in your car where your car likes to change gears if you've got an auto or a manual. He wasn't doing that, and can cause some pretty serious damage to an engine revving at 10,000 RPM.
Yeah, I don't know what I felt sorry for more, the mechanics that build the motor or the valve springs.
Yeah, look, I was saying off air while we were playing that clip that there's a bit of a feud between those riders, and reading more into what's happening. Viñales is saying that the team were touching the bike and making setup changes during the red flag for Pedrosa's fiery crash that he didn't really want them to be making. So, and the bike was fine before the red flag, and then they made changes in the red flag, and the bike was a piece of junk afterwards. So, look, make of it what you will, but maybe there's some other things going on there that we just don't really know about just yet. The statement from the team is very, very political. Put it onto the safety side rather than the taking any blame or assigning any blame except for on Mavericks. So yeah, be interesting to see how that one plays out.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll actually cover that in more detail on our next show in a fortnight, as well as the up and coming Grand Prix, which is starting in about a half an hour's time. Yep. But overall, I think the biggest takeaway from that too is Quartararo is also on the Yamaha front, is still compiling a very consistent championship. He'll be hard to beat. But I've got a funny feeling that Suzuki might have a bit of a say in it with Mir.
They'll come on strong again like they did at the end of the last season as well, but Quartararo, he's putting together a champion season, picking up the most amount of points where he can. Third was probably the best he was going to get out of that race, and he rode the bikes superbly to get it home for third place.
Yeah, 100%. We're going to go off to our final break. We're going to come back with what grinds Lee's gears. So you're listening to Negative Camber with Jamie and Lee, the official motorsport show of Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide, on Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM.
Radio Uno.
You're listening to Negative Camber,
the official motorsport show of Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide,
with Jamie and Lee
on Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM. Welcome back to the final lap of Negative Camber. You happy now?
I'm very happy.
Good. We're hoping you enjoyed the show as 5 to 9. It's been a blast as always. But I'm going to throw you over to Mr. Lee Harrison with what grinds your gears.
Before we jump straight into grinding my gears, we'll finish the show off with that like we normally do. But something else pretty significant happened in the world of motorsport as of this morning that I just wanted to touch on. You've been calling Max Verstappen my boy for most of the show, but the one driver that I really am fiending on at the moment is Kyle Larson. He's an American.
Your real boy.
My real boy, yeah. Yep. Young money, as they call him. He's an American racer. Will drive anything with four wheels and a motor. And this morning, our time, he won the Knoxville Nationals in 410 sprint cars, which is known as the biggest money-paying event in a sprint car in the sprint car world.
Wow.
Happens once a year. But what makes it so special is that he's won this event. He's now won an event in all four of the main racing categories in America. He's won the Chili Bowl in midgets, speed cars as we call them here, which is the prestige event for that. He won the Prairie Dirt Classic a few weeks ago in the late models at Fairbury Speedway in Illinois. And he's also won NASCAR Sprint Cup races this year on both oval and road courses. So this guy's the complete driver. More on him another day. But that was pretty special. I thought it definitely needed to be mentioned. We're going to have to get a bit of a segue into this segment. We're going to have to, watch me drive a manual or something and really grind the gears. But can't find them, grind them, in my opinion. But all right, this is going to raise some eyebrows. You've already said that someone wasn't happy with me last week, but grinding my gears this week is Lewis, the crybaby Hamilton, and his radio messages. I'm sick and tired of him, mate. Seriously, every time I see his name come up on the F1 telecast and we're going to hear a radio message from him, it's a cry. It's a sook. Nothing's ever good enough. Mate, you've won bloody 8 world titles, 7 world titles. you're having a challenge for a change. Get over it. Get your head down, bum up, and get on with the job. You know, like, seriously. Every time I see that come up, I'm like, what's he going to be whinging about now?
Yeah, look, it does come across like that sometimes. And look, the production companies also, like for Formula One, will pick certain elements of that message, but it definitely doesn't portray a good look for Lewis as a driver in certain circumstances. And then that kind of, I think that's what also creates that sort of love-hate relationship that he has with the general public, is that on track his driving record speaks for itself.
Yeah.
It is impeccable, and the guy can drive. Debatable whether he's considered to be one of the greatest of all time, certainly in the top 10. But then when you have the histrionics, the radio messages with him and Bono, and some of the stuff that he was saying, almost whinging, if you want to call it that, you can completely understand why there's that you either love him or you hate him. There's no middle ground there. So I'll call this one, instead of grinding your gears, the slipping clutch.
Oh, really? This is a full grind for me. I'm over it. Every time I see, I'm going to press mute on the television from now on, just to take for what it's worth. Like I said, he's got the pace. The car's great. He's going to get back through the field. He's too quick to jump on the button and have a whinge, in my opinion. And especially for stuff he was calling out Alonso for blocking and driving dangerously. But shoe on the other foot, he'd do the same thing. So get over it. Get on your bike and put your head down and race and get your finger off the button, Lewis, and get on with it.
Yeah, I had to laugh at Fernando's response when they put that to him in the presser, and he's basically saying, well, he whinges about that all the time. We'll just move on with it.
Where's your Ron Dennis now for Lewis?
On that note, I think we
sign off for another night.
Yeah, we sign off on another night on show 2 of our stint here at Radio Italia Uno. Big shout out and a massive thanks to the legend, Dave Heath, for running the board in the background and doing all the hard work for us. But we really look forward to your comments, ladies and gents, on the Facebook page. But then also, I do encourage you to have a look at the Scuderia Ferrari Club website, www.sfcadelaide.com. Support the club, which supports the show, and you're supporting community and grassroots motorsport as well. So we'll be back in another fortnight's time at 7 p.m, and enjoy your night.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.